All right, we are back and we started the recording. A couple things on the chat. Let me just back up here and address those. John was asking about cost analysis and labor. Yes, we'll get into that as we move ahead on the project. Yes, we will be including estimated cost for labor on that. And let's see. And Brian, James is addressing what Brian said. I missed what Brian said. I think it was something about attendance, the way it looks. Oh, Brian, anyone else get a notice of excess attendance? Yeah, so those go out based on how many unexcused absences I have logged in. Now, Brian, and that's for everybody. And then if anybody receives that and they're going, wait a minute, I've been here every day, one or two things happen. Either you forgot to send an email or I didn't log it in. You sent the email and I forgot to log it in Web Advisor. So with that said, go ahead and send me an email what the situation is, and I can get that corrected. If you were actually here, and Brian, I think I remember asking you, you had stated in one email that you forgot to send an attendance email for one day. And I responded back and said, go ahead and send a separate email in with the subject line for the attendance day that you missed, and I'll go back and change that. And maybe that one day, Brian, I don't remember. If anybody else has received a notice on attendance, that's the way you can either fix it, or if you know you've missed a lot and just watch the recordings and didn't send me an attendance email, you can get that fixed as well. James Meek says, my last professor forgot to log it in and we had to play email tag about it. Yeah, it shouldn't, thanks James for that. You shouldn't have to play email tag. Just if you know that you were here certain days, you can go and check your attendance too, and it will show you what days that you were missing, you were absent, as it was logged in as absent, and you can just send me an email for those days that you know you were here. Do it in the same format, put it in the subject, in the subject line, date that you were missing, attendance date you were missing, and I'll get it cleared up. You shouldn't have to go back and forth a lot. I should be able to get that cleared up. Brittany says, I also got the email and sent you an email, but you didn't respond yet. Yeah, if you sent it, I think I responded back through everything between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, I think, from the student email. Make sure you're sending it to the david.taft117, david.taft117 at mytccd.edu, the regular email. And that way I will address it for sure. My coordinator email, my boss doesn't want to hear this, but you guys are first, and I have to move through the emails, get everything planned out. Then I get over the coordinator email, and sometimes it's, I won't tell anybody, but probably a couple days behind on that. So falling down on that for sure. And Brittany, so I'll get to the emails, the other ones that came in, to answer the ones that were, I think, from yesterday, answer those, and I'll get to that. Let's see, I just sent copies of the attendance emails, including the responses that settled it. James Meek says, okay, yeah, so should be no problem. I don't have any problem adjusting that. If you guys say you're there, because I can't monitor. I mean, I look at it once in a while to see who's logged in, but sometimes people leave, and I'm not going to monitor all that. And there's actually a way to check within Blackboard, but I need, from last I was told, I need some kind of documentation that I can actually save for. You have to save documentation like for 5 years or something like that. It's nuts. But anyway, that's what is required of us. That's why I do it this way. All right, so any more questions on any of that? Site plans, attendance, JPEGs, anything? Yeah, yeah. It it amazes me what. And before we went, I was doing everything in hard copy to keep records. You can imagine what my office started looking like. Oh, no, go back to before I had an office when I was part time. I still had to keep these, and I was keeping them at home. I go like, this is nuts. And finally, I went electronic on it. You know, keeping emails and keep. We have to do these grade reports, final grade reports that has also the attendance in there. That package, I was keeping, you know, a package. Part time, you only have one class a semester. And when you're full time, you have two to four or 3 to 4 classes a semester. And so I finally, said, "Hey, this is crazy. I'm keeping everything electronic." And when we were on campus, I would print everything out and hand the packet over to our administrator, who um, kept it safe that way too. So I had a backup of that. All right. Anything else out there? All right. Nice and quiet. Wow. So the other thing I want to talk about, the second part of the lecture, is a final project. And so what I'm going to look at is the first phase on this, or the first sheet. Discuss that today. Um, Before I do that, I want to just look at the assignment for today, make sure that that's understood, and have that going the right direction. Um, so on the final project, I'm going to try to put out a schedule for you, a schedule that you should be on track to be able to finish by whenever it's due. I keep forgetting to do this. The 16th of December, the 16th, yeah. Wow, that's amazing that I remember that. 16th of December by 12:30 is when it's due, so I'll put a little schedule together to try to keep you on track um, for the progress on this. All right, but before we talk about that, let's go ahead and talk about the, oh, you know what? And I don't know if I have the settings because I logged out. Let me check my settings here real quick. Sorry about that. Oh, I guess everything's still working. Nicole still has closed caption. Okay, we're cool on that. And I do too. All right, so let me share my screen with you on this one. So, right there. Okay, so on this we have, today is assignment 3, design a proposed landscape site plan for your front yard. So everything we just talked about, get that information in there. And I think there's one thing that's missing that I want to make sure. Oh, drainage. No, it's in there. Existing drainage. So make sure you get an idea which way that water's going. If you have any problematic areas, call those out as well. So the site is really looking at the ground portion of it. Yeah, it does include the plants, but really looking at the utilities, fence lines, anything that encompasses that you. If somebody came on site and started digging and working with, they want to have a good idea where things are. Now, if you don't know exactly where they are, I gave you some hints on or suggestions on how to somewhat locate them. Like we have a water meter out front in the parkway, and I know I have a main valve that has a backflow valve in it for irrigation that's separate, so I can kind of tell which way the line's going, and then I can see where it comes up at the house. So you can tell on things like that. You can tell where the gas meter is. It's typically going to be running from the street, so you can kind of project that line. Sometimes they're going to have little emblems on the curb as well. So you might be able to tell with that, and this is all has to do with utilities on that. Let's see, James says, oh yeah, I have a fire hydrant. I need to have water line for that. No, because what should be happening, James, on that, and I don't know every situation, but typically I got a little bit into this when I was in the fire department. Um, the water line is going to be off the main line running down one part of the street and then trunked off to the hydrant. So you wouldn't have to really locate the water line, but if the hydrant is on your property, yes, that would be a call out for sure. He says, oh yeah, I just checked my mental image. Okay. All right. Just call it out if it's on your property. That's all you have to worry about on the hydrant. All right. So are there any questions on assignment 3 when this is for site plan? Any questions you want to post out there or email me on that? Yes. So call out all the plants, everything there. And that's on the ground, right? And then any structures. If you have a separate structure, like a little patio cover on the front or something like that. Any structures, any groundwork, utilities, plants, hardscape, softscape. It's going to pretty much include everything, but we're getting into the utility areas and the drainage is what we're really adding on to that. Now, the other thing it says on here is a vicinity map with the second viewport. Any questions on that? All right. Here's mud. Main dimensions. I gave you some examples on that for main dimensions on the PowerPoints we just did. James Meek says, what is that? Okay, so a vicinity map, and let me stop sharing here because I think we pretty much got that. And I will draw you a vicinity map or a location map. It's called either one. And I haven't used this in a while, so we'll see how this works. I have a hard time drawing on this whiteboard. So a vicinity map, if we have our D sheet. Love these straight lines. Oh my gosh. We have this D sheet and we have our title block here. A vicinity map we're going to be placing up in the top right area. Okay. And what I've told students before, it's basically drawing, you have to draw some control lines in first, and basically 7 inches by 7 inches. So 7 inches this way and 7 inches this way, just drawing a line. So if you come down here, 7 inches, come over 7 inches, and go up 7, close it out at 7 inches. And then you're going to make a secondary viewport right here. In fact, I think I have a video on it as well. Making a secondary viewport if you don't remember how to do that. So you'll make your primary viewport. Now, when you make a viewport in this D sheet, you should be using the polygonal viewport. It's a lot cleaner than the rectangular one. Use a polygonal around here. So I'll go ahead and switch colors for the polygonal. I just love saying that word. Polygonal viewport will run like this. And the reason the polygonal is a lot better because when you get over to the left-hand side of the sheet, it has these curves. And the polygonal will go around those curves, as you know. So there's a polygonal. And then you're going to make another viewport, and we'll change colors on that, and just use the rectangular viewport up here in the secondary viewport. So James asked, and probably some of you others might say, what the heck goes in a vicinity map? So this is how you make it. And of course, you'll make the viewports here in paper space, and you'll do all your drawing in model space. Let me erase that. Nice and easy. And show you what's in the vicinity map if you don't remember from the class. So vicinity map is basically showing, very simple. It's showing cross streets, closest cross streets. So even if your property is way over here, you're just going to show the cross streets. You're going to call the cross streets out. You're going to have a north arrow. And then typically below the north arrow, you will have some text. And that stands for not to scale. And then you will have a indication. So that's your property there. Oops, come on. You're just going to have a rectangle, and it doesn't have to be the size. It's just going to be a rectangle. That's all it is. And then you'll have a call out. And that will say location. And that is the vicinity map that will go in that 7x7 area. And there again, it's not scaled. My drawing pencil back. It is not scaled. All right, not to scale. So you're just going to fill that 7x7 area, and there's your vicinity map. This basically tells somebody looking at it where the heck this site is at. All right. Of course, with Google Maps and address and all that, you don't really need it, but this is something that's used still in industry today. So I heard some comments come in. What it is clear. James says he probably has an idea what it is. So hopefully that helped James on that, answer that. Anybody else? Javier says, oh, you mean to make a small mini in the corner of the D sheet? Yeah, so you're going to make, and the easiest way to do that, Javier, and anybody else, is do that 7x7, just a regular line. It's going to run right along your title block. Use a regular line work. Just go 7 over, 7 up, close it out, and then make a viewport. Just use the rectangular viewport on that. Go diagonal with it, and then you'll have another viewport. Do all your drawing and model space for this vicinity map. Zero line on it. Don't scale it, and you're set to go. And Javier, I hopefully answered, or it was kind of a question you put out there, kind of question statement. So hopefully I reinforced that for you, that you're in the right direction. Okay, you understood that. All right, great. And then James Meek says, okay, mine is a cul-de-sac, but still at the crossroads. Yes, it doesn't matter what, so let's go to James for a second on this here. His house is on a cul-de-sac. So you would not show the cul-de-sac. You're just going to show the cross streets, the closest cross streets. They don't have to be a major cross street, but the closest cross streets. I mean, if you want to use major cross streets, that gives a little better idea. And don't draw the cul-de-sac in. You're just going to draw a rectangle. You can just estimate the distance it is from these cross streets that you use. I mean, if your property is right next to the cross streets, then you'll draw it right here. The site location, you'll put it right here. But if it's a ways away, you don't have to estimate how far it is, miles and all that. It's not to scale. It's just to give somebody an idea of what they're looking at. So James, hopefully that will get you on track. How to edit a rectangular viewport. Iman says, how to that's just under layouts in AutoCAD. You go to layouts on the right-hand side on the tab layouts. Then all the way back to the left, you'll see viewports for panel, viewport panel, and it's rectangular is in there. Iman, did I answer your question on that? And I think I made a video on it. If you really need it, I know you guys are advanced and some of you already know how to do it. I said no. Okay, thanks. Maybe you need the video then. Let's see. Let me just look through. If you don't mind me taking a second to see if I have it, I don't want to lie to you. How to scale, how to place, how to show, line types. I need a way to organize my videos. They're just by date. How to make a viewport on a D sheet. Oh, that's a viewport. You should have one. How to make a second viewport. There it is. You guys want to see it? How many people want to see that? If I get enough, I'll Larry, I don't know. Just put it in the comment box or thumbs up or something. Mon says she knows how to insert a new viewport. Barry says yes. Okay, there's one yes. Iman, I'll come back to you in a second. Anybody else? There's just one person. I'm just going to post the link. All right, just one. All right, Larry, I'm going to post the link, and so anybody else who is too shy to say they want to see it, we'll have the link in the video. What is it? Packet 3 video links. Iman, so you said you know how to insert the new viewport. So what am I missing? If you know how to make a new viewport, I don't think you have a microphone, so you can't talk. But if you want to put that in there, the original. Oh, okay. So you delete it. You delete the original that you have there. If you copy the D sheet, I see what you're saying now. So if you copy the D sheet, so you have multiple D sheets, right? So you have a viewport already in it. Because you copied a nice, crisp, new D sheet that has a viewport. You delete the viewport, and then you make your 7x7 square, and then you do the polygonal for your main and the rectangular for the small one. Did I answer that, Iman? All right, there we go. I got on track. It took me a while. How to make a second viewport in... Oh, this actually says how to make a second viewport for the sitemap. So there's one from a previous class. So any information that conflicts other than the viewport portion, I just ignore. I made it for another class. So I will, in fact, I'm going to post that right here. In the chat box. And if you want to just copy that link, you can take that over to my wonderful, I laugh at that, my wonderful YouTube channel and take a look at that one, and that will help you. Yeah, just James says he took the other one out and put in a new one. Yeah, so it's no problem. Again, use the polygonal for the main one and then rectangular for the secondary. So, all right. So we have no more questions on that. And just to let you know, not that you're interested, but I had on that secondary viewport, I had 57 views on that. So somebody must have, oh, how to make an A, B, C, and D sheet in CAD. I had 141 views. I guess that was the highest one. So made it for a lot of different stuff, you guys. So if you're stuck on something, you can't remember CAD function, you can't find it on somebody else, or they get too long-winded like I do sometimes, then you can always ask me. I may have a video on it. All right, so I'm going to go back to Final Project, stop sharing this, and talk about sheet number 1. Now, let me make a note to myself for another email or announcement. Final Project schedule. I'll put something together. All right, we're going to talk about sheet number 1. Sheet number 1. Share screen. All right. So now you should be able to see it. All right. So here's all the information we've talked about. We've talked through the sheet. We've talked about it. But I want to talk a little bit about your cover sheet. So it says the cover sheet will include, but not limited to, a 2-point perspective. Page 186 of your text give you an example of that. Fully landscaped, hardscape, softscape, presentation quality, all right? Full color, full presentation for the client, sheet set index in the D sheet title, all right? So you'll have the index, and the index will be listing every one of these sheets. So it will say sheet 1, cover, sheet 2, site plan, et cetera, in the D sheet title block. So Any questions on a 2-point perspective? Cover sheets are most overwhelming in detail, James Meek says. They have to have, kind of comment on that, James, they have to have the wow factor. So you want to sell it, is what the cover sheet's for. You want a cover sheet, the 2-point perspective, when you see it, you want to open it and find out, man, this looks like a great idea. You don't want something and people go, oh, that's what it's going to look like. I'm not really interested in going any further. So James McGinn says, yes, is there any videos we can watch to help us on that? 2-point perspective, well, I was going to talk about that, but let me see if I have any. No, because the videos I have are how to draw a 2-point perspective. So here's how I'm going to give you the cheater's way to do it. James Eek says, I've seen some. My dad had to sell to the government a few years back. The government. I'm kind of interested on that, James, to see if they're just kind of black and white or anyway. Yeah. So you have an idea. So the 2-point cheater's way to do this. I don't have a video on it. We've done this several times in previous landscape classes. And I'm going to just leave this up to you. This is an advanced class, so you guys should be able to figure some of these things out. What you can do is you take a picture. You can use your iPhone or a camera or whatever you want to use. Take a picture from the angle you want to do the 2-point perspective on. So that's actually going to be from one of the corners, right? Because a 2-point will show 2 sides of the house. So it's going to be from an angle, number one. So you take a picture of it. You find out, or you take a couple pictures and see which you like best, which is going to show the most information. So take a picture of it, import it as a JPEG, scale it, trace it, and start decorating. How's that? Somebody like that? Yeah, there you go. All right. Both James says, neat trick, excellent. Iman says, thumbs up. All right. 3 out of the 15, or 12, 13, 12, 10. All right. Javier says, seems good to him. All right, cool. So let me tell you a little story. And I'll stop talking in just a second. We covered the cover sheet. The wow factor is what you want. Make it look impressive, and that's the easiest, fastest way to do it. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that. James Meek says his dad's cover sheets were black and white. For some projects, those were full color. Yeah, the government probably does want a lot of fluff. They just want a general idea what things are gonna look like. So that's why I was kind of suspicious on that, James. But this, you have a client. The client could be your wife. It could be your significant other. It could be yourself. But you want to look at it and go, man, I want to see what this is about. So it's to sell it. Jane says, military doesn't care about color, but government buildings, they did. Interesting. So that's the easiest way to do that. And you're going to just have a full presentation. So you want to show depth, you want to show detail, you want to show texture, so use gradients. Make sure that your focal point is your landscaping. So don't paint your house, even if your house is bright red. Tone it down. You're going to have to fake it on that because your eyes will go right to the house. You want your eyes to go to the focal point of your landscaping. So whether it's a water feature or some just incredibly wonderful plants. I know what James Meek is thinking now. He's doing xeriscape. So what's incredibly wonderful? You can have texture. You can have shape for a focal point as far as plants. You can have balance. So So, you know, 3s, 5s, around we talked about spill and fill, or fill and spill, sorry, fill and spill. You can tier things. We talked about tier. So you can make a focal point, make sure your eyes are going towards that, not towards your front door, not towards your window that's beautiful or something like that. Make sure you design a focal point on that. James says, sadly, can't talk about the current projects they have released, but pretty neat landscaping from the sneak piece I've seen. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's always interesting to see other people's work and you get some good ideas. And that goes out to everybody. Google a 2-point perspective in landscaping and see what's out there. You're going to get you probably have to put in CAD because you will get quite a bit of hand drawing. So here's my story. If I've answered all the questions and the details on sheet 1. My brother, landscape architect, years ago, before CAD was, I guess it was before he was using CAD, I think. He would go out to a client's house, take down some notes and what they want, and he would just some basic notes, basically. He might do a quick sketch on it and go back to his office. And he would spend about a week, probably about a week, depending on how much time he had, but on that one project for the cover page. And he is an artist. He could have gone commercial art if he wanted to. But he would draw usually a 2-point perspective showing, say, the backyard landscape. And if they're putting a pool in or whatever, and he would color it up and just make a full presentation by hand drawing colored pencils. He loved that because that was his artistic side. CAD comes along, and now what does he do? Goes out, takes a picture, imports the picture, does the scaling process, imports some blocks for trees, colors it up a little bit, and he's done. Probably in about a day. Like that, you know. And that's his presentation now. It looks great, but he really misses the artistic side of it. So that's my little story on that, how this trick, I've heard about this before, and I've done it before. Use this in different applications. So it's been around for a while. It's pretty cool, but I think it will really help you. And you can talk to anybody else who's had my CAD classes on the frustration of drawing a 2-point perspective. It can get pretty intense doing it with vanishing points, horizon lines, etc., to make it look really, really good. Well, you won't be drawing the rotunda. Oh, you mean the area. Yeah, you can't get any pictures. So what you're going to have to do is do some. Hey, here's one for you. Try this. I don't know if this will work. You can do. Might just work on the street. You might try to drop that little street guy in Google Maps onto PCC Street View. Yeah, see if that works. If that doesn't, you're going to have to be creative with that. The first thing I would address on that, James, you're talking about doing the rotunda garden as a 2-point perspective. The first thing I would ask, do you have, what type of amenities do you have there? Do you have a gazebo or pergola, something going on there? If you have something like that, then you can go to that. You can actually take a drawing of a pergola or gazebo and develop it from that. You can do like an elevation view of a pergola in CAD and then actually start doing a 2-point perspective. And if you need help with that, you can either Google 2-point perspectives, and I'm pretty sure I have a video on 2-point perspectives as well in that. So with that said, there's going to be some challenges for sure. And on the rotunda and maybe with this project. This front yard project will get you warmed up. We've talked about the cover sheet. We have 5 more sheets to talk about, a little more detail on that to get you going. But let me tell you this. The cover sheet will probably take you the most time. So you plan that accordingly. And typically in classes, in my CAD classes, I will make sure that they're on track with a sketch of a 2-point perspective, probably about the second, maybe the third week into the final project time frame. And actually drawing it takes even more time in CAD. So I would start getting some ideas together, whether you do hand sketching or whatever you do, start getting some ideas. You don't have to finish it. You don't have to complete it for the rotunda, but start getting some ideas on how that's looking. Sketching, I am not good at, but I use it, and I use it in the woodworking that I'm doing. I use it on problem solving, on engineering my table, my woodworking table. I use the sketching on that. I use perspective sketching on that, just to get an idea of what I'm looking at, and then I use detail sketching, of course, for the engineering part. Yeah, so James says his sketches aren't a piece of art. Yeah, that's just what I said. Same with mine. But they help you clear in your mind what is going on, especially when you're engineering something. You've heard about reverse engineering. Well, how do you think they start out? They start out with a sketch on what they think. They start out with a sketch with the entire piece, and then how is that broken apart as well. So Iman says, which perspective, bird view or human view is better? Well, bird view is a plan view, Iman. And so bird view is a plan view. The human view is the perspective view. So, oh, I see what you're saying, because James says, he thinks better. All right. So you're talking about elevated, and we're talking about both projects, Iman. I'm sorry, I missed that. Thanks, James, for helping me on that, seeing both. So when you're doing a 2-point perspective, you have a thing called a horizon line. Well, the higher the horizon line, the more elevated you are for your picture. So either one, Iman, you can do on the ground, like you're on a little mound, or you can do like you're up in the air looking down at the project. Totally up to you. And that's on both projects, everybody. Iman, really great question. Sorry for misunderstanding on that. James, thanks for helping on that. So you can do either one. If you're standing flat on the ground looking at it, elevated slightly, or all the way up in the air and looking down, like you're looking down from the heavens. James says, my church did both for display of the cover sheet. Yeah. So you don't have to do both, but you can do a sketch of both and see which one you like best. And you don't have to, in the sketch, you don't have to do all the details and everything, but the main features and just how it's going to look with the sidewalks and everything like that. So, all right. So I'm going to stop gabbing because it's 2:19. I told you about tomorrow. So be prepared. Just keep working. If I'm not logged on, I will get here or get you an email. Maybe have your email open as well if I get stuck somewhere. At 8:20, you never know. 8:20 freeway. I guess that's it. I'll be here till 3:15. I'll step out in a minute to get some more water, and I'll be here till 3:15 to assist you. Again, don't forget about my office hours if you need to connect one-on-one. The attendance stuff, go ahead and send in. Take a look at the attendance and see what you're missing. It shows unexcused. If you were there, send an email. There's that one email for each day that you were there, but it shows unexcused. And I apologize in advance if I missed something, not logging it in. What happens a lot is I'm going between Blackboard or WebAdvisor and email. I'll get a phone call, or all of a sudden MS Teams, my boss will call, somebody will call, and it just, I forget to record something. So Brian says, where is the attendance listed in WebAdvisor? WebAdvisor attendance. That's where you should find it. I don't know what it looks like on your end because it looks different on mine, but it should be in WebAdvisor, Brian, and hopefully that will help you out. And I'll get back to answer those emails. That's what I'll work on right now after the class. So I will be here till 3:15. If I don't talk to you, have a great afternoon and evening. And I will be here to answer any questions if you do need me. So take care and hopefully see you all tomorrow.